Admiral William Carter stood on the bridge of the Earth vessel Guardian, his weathered face reflecting blue light from the tactical display. The ship had been patrolling the outer reaches of human space when sensors detected an anomaly. "Sir, unidentified vessel approaching from Sector 7, reported Lieutenant Olivia Grant, her fingers moving rapidly across the console. Configuration unknown. Definitely not one of ours." Carter nodded, maintaining his trademark calm. "Hail them on all frequencies." This was potentially humanity's first contact with an alien civilization. Despite decades of deep space exploration, humans had found plenty of habitable worlds but no sentient species. Until now. The massive ship that appeared on their viewscreen dwarfed the Guardian by at least 20 times. Its sleek, crystalline surface reflected starlight in prismatic patterns. "No response to hails, sir," said Communications Officer Ben Wilson. "Wait, incoming transmission." The viewscreen flickered, revealing a humanoid figure with iridescent blue skin and multiple sets of eyes arranged vertically. The alien wore what appeared to be ceremonial armor with intricate patterns etched across its surface. "I am Ambassador Zixtal of the Galactic Hegemony," the alien said, its translator producing slightly delayed English. "Your species has been observed and deemed suitable for integration. Prepare for the honor of joining our 10,000-year empire spanning 3,000 star systems." Carter raised an eyebrow. "Ambassador, I'm Admiral William Carter of the United Earth Alliance. We welcome peaceful contact, but integration implies a loss of sovereignty that we cannot accept." The alien's upper eyes blinked in sequence. "You misunderstand, human. This is not a negotiation. The hegemony absorbs all spacefaring races eventually. Resistance has always proven futile and unnecessarily destructive." Carter maintained a neutral expression while signaling his tactical officer to run a discreet scan of the alien vessel. The results appeared on his private screen. Impressive technology, but with several vulnerabilities that Earth's military had overcome decades ago. "Admiral," the ambassador continued, "I have reviewed your species' capabilities. You possess merely 43 colony worlds and a modest fleet. The hegemony conquers such civilizations as an afterthought." Carter noticed something important. The alien's assessment of Earth's military strength was dramatically underestimated. Earth had nearly 200 colonies, not 43, and the Guardian was just one of thousands of ships in the human fleet. Most importantly, the ambassador seemed unaware that humans had been fighting wars among themselves for thousands of years. "Ambassador Zixtal," Carter replied carefully, "there seems to be a misunderstanding. We have no desire for conflict, but I should warn you that humans are not what we seem. All species say this." "Admiral," the ambassador replied with what appeared to be amusement, "yet all eventually kneel before the hegemony. We will arrive at your homeworld in 30 of your days to begin the integration process. Prepare your leaders." Carter studied the alien closely. The hegemony had clearly never encountered humans before. They had no idea what they were threatening. "Ambassador, I'll convey your message to Earth, but I feel obligated to offer you advice first." "Advice?" The alien's multiple eyes widened slightly. Carter leaned forward, his voice dropping. "Run, while you still can." The ambassador's translator seemed to struggle with the response, or perhaps it was the concept itself that confused the alien. "Your primitive threats are noted, Admiral. The hegemony has integrated over 400 species. None have successfully resisted." Carter nodded solemnly. "Then you've never met humans before. I suggest you research us thoroughly before your 30 days expire. You might reconsider your position." The transmission ended abruptly. Carter turned to his crew, noting their tense expressions. "Send everything to Earth Command immediately," he ordered, "and prepare the fleet. The hegemony is about to learn why humans have survived everything the universe has thrown at us." Guardian accelerated away, its engines glowing blue against the blackness of space, carrying a warning that the galactic hegemony would soon wish they had heeded. Commander Susan Miller stepped aboard the diplomatic vessel Olive Branch, straightening her formal uniform. Earth had decided to attempt one final diplomatic solution before the inevitable conflict with the galactic hegemony. "Final checks complete, Commander," reported her pilot, Jack Freeman. "Course laid in for Novan Prime." "Proceed," Susan said, settling into her seat. The ship accelerated smoothly into slip space, the stars blurring around them. Back on Earth, President Kevin Hayes addressed the Global Defense Council in an underground facility beneath the Rocky Mountains. "Admiral Carter's encounter confirms our worst fears," Hayes said, gesturing to the holographic display showing the hegemony vessel. "They've given us 30 days before they arrive to forcibly integrate Earth." General Frank Warren, head of Earth's military forces, stepped forward. "Mr. President, our hidden fleet stands ready. The hegemony has no idea of our true capabilities." "What about Commander Miller's mission?" asked Defense Secretary Olivia Reed. "A formality," Hayes admitted. "But we must appear to pursue all peaceful options while we prepare." Meanwhile, in a research facility orbiting Jupiter, Dr. Alan Russell made a breakthrough. He examined scans of the hegemony ship, focusing on their shield frequencies. "They've never had to adapt," he muttered to his research team. "Their shields are powerful but inflexible. They've never faced an enemy that could penetrate them." His assistant, Maria Diaz, looked up from her console. "So they're vulnerable." "Extremely," Alan confirmed. "Their entire defensive doctrine is built on overwhelming force, not adaptation. They've never needed to evolve." 3 days later, Commander Miller's ship arrived at Novan Prime, a massive ecumenopolis planet that served as the hegemony's capital. The human vessel seemed tiny next to the crystalline spires reaching into the atmosphere. "Humans," announced a hegemony official with 6 eyes arranged vertically. "You will be escorted to the council chambers." Susan and her small team followed their escorts through vast halls, filled with representatives from dozens of species. All moved with a strange uniformity that Susan found unsettling. In the council chamber, 5 senior hegemony officials sat on elevated platforms. Ambassador Zixtal stood nearby. "Commander Miller of Earth," the central figure announced, "we have reviewed your species profile and confirmed our decision. Earth will be integrated into the hegemony. Your technological and cultural distinctiveness will be adapted to serve us." Susan stepped forward. "High Counselor, we come offering peaceful coexistence, not submission. Earth wishes to establish diplomatic relations as equals." The council members exchanged what appeared to be amused glances. "Your species has never left your small sector of the galaxy," another counselor stated. "Your technology is primitive. You have 43 colony worlds and a modest defense fleet. What possible basis do you have for demanding equality?" Susan realized they were still working with severely outdated intelligence. She chose her next words carefully. "With respect, counselors, you don't understand humans. We've spent thousands of years fighting each other. War is in our history, our literature, our very DNA. We've developed technologies specifically to destroy our enemies." The counselors seemed unmoved. "All species have conflicts before enlightenment." The central figure dismissed. "The hegemony brings order." "You don't understand," Susan insisted. "Admiral Carter's warning wasn't a threat. It was mercy." The council chamber filled with the hegemony equivalent of laughter. "Your ultimatum stands," declared the High Counselor. "In 27 days, our integration fleet arrives at Earth. Submit or face extinction." As Susan was escorted back to her ship, Ambassador Zixtal approached her. "Commander, why do humans resist the inevitable? No species has successfully opposed the hegemony." Susan met the ambassador's gaze steadily. "That's because you've never met humans before." She paused before adding, "You really should have run when you had the chance." Fleet Commander Grace Martinez stood in Earth's primary military control center buried deep beneath the Pacific Ocean. Around her, hundreds of officers monitored stations tracking the movement of ships throughout the solar system and beyond. "Status report," Grace ordered, her voice calm despite the pressure of impending conflict. All dormant defense platforms are now active, reported Captain Jason Ford. Saturn's ring installations are powered and shielded. The Jupiter fleet is in position. Grace nodded, studying the massive holographic display. For decades, humanity had hidden its true military capabilities. Official records, which the hegemony had somehow accessed, showed only a fraction of Earth's actual colonies and military assets. "What about Lieutenant Johnson's infiltration mission?" she asked. "His team successfully boarded the hegemony command vessel 17 hours ago," replied Intelligence Officer Samantha Wright. "They're transmitting data on hegemony tactical systems now." Elsewhere in the solar system, Lieutenant Paul Johnson moved silently through the ventilation system of the massive hegemony scout ship. His nanotech camouflage suit rendered him nearly invisible to the ship's sensors. Paul reached a junction and carefully removed a panel, revealing the pulsing crystalline structure of the ship's central data core. He attached a small device that began copying the alien database. "Command, this is Phantom," he whispered into his subvocal communicator. "Package is being delivered. Their main fleet is much larger than we anticipated, at least 3,000 vessels. But their weapons technology is surprisingly standardized. No evidence of adaptive systems." Back on Earth, President Hayes and his cabinet reviewed Dr. Alan Russell's findings on hegemony shield technology. "Their entire empire uses identical shield frequencies," Alan explained, pointing to the schematics. "They've never needed to change because no one has been able to penetrate them." "And we can?" asked Secretary Reed. "Easily," Alan confirmed. "Our phase shift torpedoes will pass through their shields like they aren't even there." In orbit around Mars, Captain Daniel Foster supervised the final preparations of Earth's hidden fleet. Ships that had officially been decommissioned years ago were now being brought to full combat readiness. "Keep all systems in passive mode," Daniel instructed his officers. "We don't want their scout ships detecting our actual capabilities." On the far side of the moon, massive hangars opened, revealing row upon row of fighter craft and assault vessels. Earth had been preparing for this moment since humans first reached the stars and realized the galaxy might not be friendly. In Washington, D.C., President Hayes addressed the United Earth Council. "The hegemony believes us to be an easy conquest," he said gravely. "Their spies report what we want them to see: a modest spacefaring civilization with limited military capabilities. They don't understand that humans have been fighting wars since before we had written language." "Should we reveal our true strength?" asked the representative from African Union. "Perhaps they would withdraw if they knew." Hayes shook his head. "Their empire is built on conquest. Showing our hand would only cause them to bring more forces. Strategic surprise remains our advantage." On Novan Prime, the Hegemony War Council received reports from their scout vessels near Earth. "The humans appear to be evacuating some orbital facilities," reported Commander Crix. "Our analysis indicates they are concentrating forces around their homeworld in a defensive posture." High General Zoltar dismissed the report with a gesture. "As expected, they hope to make conquest costly enough that we offer better terms. Prepare the first wave, a small force to demonstrate our power and break their will." "What if Admiral Carter's warning was sincere?" asked the junior commander. "Impossible," Zoltar replied dismissively. "No species has ever presented a serious challenge to the hegemony. Humans are no different." Back in Earth's command center, Grace Martinez received confirmation that all defense systems were ready. "Now we wait," she told her officers, "and when they strike, we will show them exactly why Admiral Carter warned them to run." The first hegemony attack force emerged from slip space near Mars, a fleet of 40 warships arranged in perfect formation. Their crystalline hulls gleamed in the sunlight as they moved toward the red planet. "Scanning completed," announced the Hegemony Fleet Commander Crix. "Human defenses on Mars consist of 3 orbital platforms and a small defensive fleet, deploying forces as planned." The Hegemony ships moved into attack positions around Mars, where the Olympus Mons colony housed nearly 1 million human inhabitants. "Begin the demonstration," ordered Crix. Target only their military installations. The Supreme Council wants the colony intact for integration. Brilliant beams of energy lanced from the hegemony vessels toward Mars. The 3 visible defense platforms erupted in flames, and cheers erupted across the hegemony bridge. As expected, Crix said, "Their technology is primitive. Send the message to Earth. Surrender immediately or face." His words were cut short by a sudden alarm. "Multiple energy signatures detected," shouted a sensor officer. "They're appearing from nowhere. Hidden beneath the Martian surface and inside hollowed-out asteroids, 200 human vessels suddenly powered up. They had been waiting in stealth mode, completely invisible to hegemony scanners. Captain Daniel Foster sat calmly on the bridge of the Defiance, watching as his fleet revealed itself. "All ships, execute attack pattern Sigma," he ordered. "Remember, disable rather than destroy where possible. We want prisoners." The human vessels moved with startling speed and precision, deploying the phase shift torpedoes developed by Dr. Russell. The weapons passed directly through the hegemony shields, as if they didn't exist. Aboard the hegemony command ship, panic spread. "Shields are ineffective," shouted a tactical officer. "Their weapons simply ignore them." "Impossible," Crix responded. "Increase shield power and return fire." The hegemony vessels launched their energy weapons, but the human ships performed evasive maneuvers with remarkable agility. Not a single human vessel was hit. Within minutes, 35 of the 40 hegemony ships were disabled, their propulsion and weapons systems offline. The remaining 5, including Crix's command vessel, attempted to retreat and regroup. "Prepare for slip space jump," Crix ordered desperately. "We must warn the main fleet." Before they could escape, a new wave of human ships appeared directly in their path. These vessels had been cloaked the entire time, completely undetectable until they chose to reveal themselves. "This is impossible," whispered Crix. "No species has this level of stealth technology." On the bridge of the newly appeared flagship, Captain Daniel Foster opened a communication channel to the hegemony commander. "Hegemony vessels, this is Captain Foster of Earth Defense Forces. Your ships are disabled, your retreat cut off. Surrender now." Crix stared at the human's image on his view screen. "How? Our intelligence indicated your technology was centuries behind ours." Foster allowed himself a small smile. "Your intelligence was exactly what we wanted you to see. You were warned to run. This demonstration was meant to help you understand that warning." Within an hour, all 40 hegemony ships had been captured intact. The prisoners were treated humanely, but with strict security measures. In Washington, D.C., President Hayes received the report of the victory at Mars. "Casualties?" he asked. 3 injured on our side," reported Defense Secretary Reed. "No deaths. All hegemony personnel have been captured alive as ordered." Hayes nodded. "Send a message to the hegemony Supreme Council. Tell them exactly this. This was mercy. Reconsider your position." On Novan Prime, the hegemony Supreme Council received the news with stunned disbelief. "How could a primitive species defeat our advanced ships?" demanded the High Counselor. "The humans appear to have concealed their true capabilities," replied a senior intelligence officer nervously. "And according to the prisoners, they told us this was mercy." For the first time in 10,000 years, fear spread through the hegemony leadership. Admiral Lisa Wright stood on the bridge of the Earth flagship Sentinel, watching as long-range scanners detected the approach of the main hegemony fleet. Unlike the small force that had attacked Mars, this armada contained over 2,000 warships. "They're not taking any chances this time," noted her executive officer, Commander Ryan Peters. Lisa nodded grimly. "They still think this is about numbers. Position our quantum disruption satellites along their projected approach vector." Throughout the solar system, human forces prepared for the coming battle. The innovative quantum disruption technology, developed by Dr. Alan Russell, was Earth's newest weapon. Devices that could temporarily disable any ship's power systems within a massive radius. "Admiral, incoming transmission from Hegemony Command. announced Communications Officer Heather Lewis. The view screen activated, showing Grand Admiral Zekthar of the Hegemony. His multiple eyes narrowed in what humans had learned was an expression of anger. "Humans," he began, "your resistance at Mars was unexpected but ultimately meaningless. The full might of the Hegemony now approaches. Surrender immediately or be eradicated." Lisa maintained a calm demeanor. "Grand Admiral, we try to warn you. We have no desire for war, but we will defend ourselves. Your primitive species cannot stand against 2,000 warships," Zekthar stated confidently. "Then why send so many?" Lisa asked simply before cutting the transmission. The Hegemony fleet entered the outer solar system 12 hours later, moving in a tight formation that had proven effective against countless other species. "They've never had to adapt their tactics," Commander Eric Phillips observed from his stealth vessel positioned near Neptune. "They've always overwhelmed their enemies with superior numbers." "That changes today," replied his tactical officer. "Quantum disruptors are in position." As the Hegemony fleet passed Neptune, Eric gave the order. "Activate all disruptors, now." Throughout the area, hundreds of previously invisible satellites powered up simultaneously. A wave of energy rippled through space, and suddenly 300 Hegemony ships at the front of the formation went completely dark, their power systems temporarily disabled. The remaining fleet halted in confusion, having never encountered such a weapon before. "Phase 2, ordered Eric. "Precision strikes on command vessels only." From hiding places throughout the outer solar system, human ships emerged, targeting only the ships identified as command vessels. Small, fast attack craft deployed surgical strikes against the Hegemony leadership structure. On the Hegemony flagship, chaos reigned as communication with the front vessels was lost. "What is happening?" demanded Grand Admiral Zekthar. "How are they disabling our ships without firing weapons?" "Unknown technology, sir," replied his science officer. "We've never seen anything like it." A junior intelligence officer approached nervously. "Sir, we've been analyzing human historical records transmitted from their public networks. They've been fighting wars among themselves for over 5,000 years. Their entire history is filled with conflict." "That's impossible," Zekthar responded. "No species survives such prolonged warfare." "Not only survived, sir," the officer continued, "but they've developed warfare into a science. Most species in the Hegemony had only regional conflicts before achieving space travel. Humans have had multiple global wars." Before Zekthar could respond, the bridge shook violently. "Direct hit on our secondary command sector," reported a tactical officer. "How did they penetrate our shields?" "Their weapons are specifically designed to bypass our shield frequencies," came the grim reply. Throughout the massive Hegemony fleet, division began to spread. Some generals advocated immediate retreat, while others insisted on pressing forward despite the unexpected resistance. Back on the Sentinel, Admiral Wright reviewed tactical displays showing the Hegemony's disarray. "They're starting to understand," she noted, "but not quickly enough." "Shall we press the attack?" asked Commander Peters. Lisa shook her head. "No. Disable their command structure only. President Hayes wants to avoid unnecessary casualties." As the battle continued, the Hegemony forces found themselves in an unprecedented situation, facing an enemy who could have destroyed them entirely but was choosing not to. Instead, the humans were systematically dismantling their command capabilities while leaving most ships intact. For the first time in millennia, the Galactic Hegemony was learning the meaning of fear. Major Nicholas Sanders moved silently through the darkened corridor of the Hegemony flagship, leading a team of 12 Special Forces operators. Each soldier wore advanced stealth armor that bent light around them, making them nearly invisible even to the Hegemony's sophisticated sensors. "Control, this is Phantom Lead," Nickel whispered into her comm. "We've reached the central junction. Proceeding to command deck." The massive Hegemony vessel continued to fire ineffectively at human ships, unaware that Earth's elite forces had already boarded. The battle outside provided perfect cover for their infiltration mission. Remember, Nicole told her team, non-lethal takedowns only. Our mission is to capture, not kill. They moved through the ship with practiced efficiency, disabling hegemony crew members with targeted stun pulses that left them unconscious but unharmed. Years of training in zero-gravity combat made the Earth soldiers far more effective in the shipboard environment than their enemies anticipated. On the bridge of the Earth flagship, Admiral Wright monitored the infiltration team's progress. Major Sanders has reached the command deck access point, reported a tactical officer. The hegemony still doesn't know they're aboard. Perfect, Wright replied. Continue defensive operations. Keep their attention focused outward. Outside, the battle had reached a stalemate. Nearly half the hegemony fleet was disabled but not destroyed. The remaining ships had adapted their formations, but were unable to inflict significant damage on the human forces. Aboard the hegemony flagship, Grand Admiral Zekthar received increasingly desperate reports from his captains. The humans are targeting our command ships with surgical precision, reported his tactical officer. They could destroy our vessels but are merely disabling them. Why? Zekthar demanded. What strategy is this? Before anyone could answer, the bridge doors slid open. Nicole and her team poured in, stunning the hegemony officers before they could react. Within seconds, only Zekthar remained conscious, surrounded by human soldiers. Nicole stepped forward, removing her helmet to reveal her face. Grand Admiral Zekthar, I am Major Nicole Sanders of Earth Special Forces. Your ship is now under our control. Zekthar stared at the human in disbelief. Impossible. Our security systems are the most advanced in the galaxy. We're advanced, Nicole corrected. Your empire has grown complacent. You've conquered species who never resisted effectively. Humans are different. Throughout the hegemony fleet, similar scenes played out as Earth's special forces captured key vessels. The remaining hegemony ships, suddenly leaderless, fell into confusion. In Earth's command center, President Hayes watched the operation unfold. Open a channel to all remaining hegemony vessels, he ordered. His image was broadcast to every functioning ship in the hegemony fleet. Attention hegemony forces. Your flagship and command vessels have been captured. Your Grand Admiral is unharmed, but in custody. We have disabled half your fleet without destroying a single ship. We could have destroyed you all, but chose not to. On the captured hegemony flagship, Nicole escorted Zekthar to the main view screen where historical archives began playing. The bewildered admiral watched footage of human conflicts through the ages. Ancient battles with swords and shields, world wars with mechanized weapons, and modern conflicts with precision munitions. This is your species' history, he asked in horror. Constant warfare. We've been fighting each other for thousands of years, Nicole explained. Everything we've built, every technology we've developed, has been tested and improved through conflict. When Admiral Carter warned you to run, it wasn't a threat. It was genuine advice. Zekthar's multiple eyes blinked rapidly as understanding dawned. The hegemony has never encountered a species with your experience. Nicole nodded. We know war better than anyone in the galaxy. That's why we also understand the value of peace. As the remaining hegemony ships powered down their weapons, a new realization spread throughout their ranks. The humans hadn't exaggerated their capabilities. They had understated them, hoping to avoid the very conflict the hegemony had forced upon them. And perhaps most terrifying of all, they had shown mercy when they had every reason not to. Admiral William Carter stood in the ornate meeting chamber aboard the neutral vessel Concord. 3 weeks had passed since the decisive battle that had brought the Galactic hegemony to the negotiating table. The massive circular room featured a round table, symbolizing equality between the parties, a concept foreign to the hegemony before their encounter with humanity. Grand Admiral Zekthar entered with his delegation, moving with less confidence than when they had first demanded Earth's surrender. The hegemony representatives took their seats across from the human delegation. Admiral Carter, Zekthar began formally, The Supreme Council has authorized me to negotiate terms. Carter nodded. The United Earth Alliance appreciates the hegemony's willingness to pursue peaceful resolution. President Hayes had chosen Carter to lead the negotiations because he had been the first to warn the hegemony. His presence was a reminder of the warning they had ignored. Our terms are straightforward, Carter continued. Earth and all human colonies will remain sovereign territory, not subject to hegemony control. We propose a mutual non-aggression pact and open diplomatic relations. Zekthar's multiple eyes blinked in sequence, what humans now recognized as an expression of surprise. You do not demand reparations, territory, technology. We want peace, not conquest, Carter replied simply. The negotiations proceeded over several days, establishing boundaries, trade agreements, and cultural exchange protocols. Throughout the process, the hegemony representatives studied the humans with a mixture of fear and fascination. On the final day, as the treaty was prepared for signing, Zekthar approached Carter privately. Your species confounds us, Admiral, he admitted. Our scholars have been examining your history in detail. You've spent millennia fighting amongst yourselves. Your technology, your tactics, your very thinking has been shaped by warfare. Carter nodded. That's true. Then why show restraint? Zekthar asked. You could have destroyed our fleet. Why disable rather than destroy? Why capture rather than kill? Carter looked out the viewport at the stars before answering. Because we've learned something important from all those centuries of fighting ourselves. What is that? Zekthar asked. The true cost of war, Carter said quietly. Every human knows stories of conflict, has ancestors who fought or suffered in wars. We've seen civilizations rise and fall through violence. We've witnessed the devastating aftermath of battles where both sides lost more than they gained. He turned to face the hegemony admiral. We've become good at war precisely because we hate it so deeply. We know its terrible efficiency, its waste of life and potential. Understanding seemed to dawn in Zekthar's expression. So when you warned us to run, it wasn't a threat, Carter finished for him. It was genuine advice from one who knows the horror of what was coming. Later that day, as the treaty was signed, a new chapter began in the history of both civilizations. The hegemony, for the first time in 10,000 years, recognized another species as equals rather than subjects. In the months that followed, hegemony scholars visited Earth to study human history firsthand. They were particularly interested in Earth's conflicts, not for their tactics but for their resolutions, how enemies became allies, how former adversaries built lasting peace. 1 year after the battle, Admiral Carter stood on the observation deck of Earth's orbital diplomatic station. Ambassador Zixtal, the same official who had first demanded Earth's surrender, stood beside him. Your civilization has changed our thinking, the ambassador admitted. For millennia, we believed power came from conquest. You showed us true strength lies in restraint. Carter smiled slightly. Sometimes the greatest victory is the war you avoid. We've begun reforms throughout the hegemony, Zixtal continued. Other species will be offered the same respect we now show humans. As they watched ships from both civilizations moving peacefully through space, Carter reflected on humanity's long, violent history. For all its darkness, it had prepared Earth for this moment, not to conquer the stars, but to bring something unexpectedly precious to the galaxy, the wisdom that comes only from knowing war well enough to choose peace instead.